W6F test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
W6F, 20DWC, how do you copy me, Ron?
I hear you, Chuck. W6MQI.
Oh, hey Dave, how you doing? They got a nice signal. I'm on low power with the TCS. I haven't turned the amp on yet. I like to do this periodically just for kicks to see who can hear me and who can't.
Yep, I'm hearing you. No problem. But it'd be a little bit better if you had the amp.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it on here in just a second. See who else is on. I heard, actually I heard you and I heard Ron, but I'm only showing about, I don't know, 15 watts on this TCS without the amplifier. But anyway, you got a good signal. Ron did too. So anyway, I guess we'll be standing by waiting on him and K0DWC.
Okay, well, you don't have to wait too long. WA7YBS here. And I heard Ron also. I assume that's the BC375 with the new dynamotor. So, sounding good, Ron. And good morning to you and Chuck on the TCS, almost QRP, 15 watts. Dave's pounding in here quite well. And so, this is the Vintage Military Radio Net, and I'll be your net control today. That's Henry in Dayton Valley. And Vintage Military Radio Net is a roundtable AM group set up to let licensed amateurs operate their vintage military radio equipment on the air. And of course, military equipment isn't a prerequisite for checking into the net, check in with what you got. And everybody kind of knows the drill, assign numbers, blah, blah, you know, do all of that stuff. We've done it several hundred times, so I'm sure it's familiar to everybody. So, in the number 1 spot is Ron, NU6F, and in the number 2 spot is Chuck, K0DWC, and the number 3 spot is Dave, W6MQI. So let's see if we have anybody else out there. Number 4 is open if you want to check into the Vintage Military Radio Net. Go ahead now.
Whiskey 7, Mexico, Sierra W7MS, good morning.
Yeah, I'll go for number 4.
WA6OPE. Okay, in the number 4 spot is Mike, W7MS. Good morning, Mike. Good signal in here. And number 5 is Vern, K6VXY. And Vern is Q5, not as strong as usual, but you're making it, Vern, so that's good. And good morning to you. Number 6 is Tom, WA6OPE. Good morning, Tom. Good strong signal in here. So let's see if there's anybody else. Number 7 is open if you want to check into the Vintage Military Radio Net. Go ahead now. Okay, there's Bill, N6BCT. And good morning to you, Bill. You're in the number 7 spot, N6BCT, number 7. Number 8 is open if anybody wants to check in. Get in here at the very beginning. Number 8's available. Check in now. Well, we got some carrier there. Let's give it one more shot. Number 8's open, Vintage Military Radio Net. Give it a go again. Well, we'll give it one more try after we read the list. Okay, here is the list in the order that I have heard everybody, and as you all have checked in. Number 1 is Ron, NU6F. Number 2 is Chuck, K0DWC. Number 3 is Dave, W6MQI. Number 4 is Mike, W7MS. Number 5 is Vern, K6VXY. Number 6 is Tom, WA6OPE. And number 7 is Bill, N6BCT. One more time. Number 8 is open. If you want to check in, do it now. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Of course, this is Henry, WA7YBS, Dayton Valley. It was a little cold this morning. It was 16 when I got up. It's 20-something now, 24, something like that. It was just a little too cold to go out into the shop and run, the big rig or something like that. So I'm on the ART13, about 120 watts of carrier power. Of course, we're going to the collinear array antenna, so hopefully that helps. And we're listening on the HRO7, National HRO7T, in the black wrinkle paint scheme, which was kind of a rare option. I think it was for airports, not really sure. I've only seen one other one. And so anyway, that's the receiver. HRO7 is actually a surprisingly good performer. I know nobody likes them, but I've been using this one for quite a while now, and it's a pretty good receiver. So anyway, with that, let's go ahead and get started. Up to Ron. Is that the new dynamotor, Ron? NU6F, WA7YBS.
Okay, WA7YBS and the group NU6F. Hold on. As Henry would say, tweak and peak. Okay, that's a little better. Audio, there we go. Yeah, this one is spinning along a lot faster. Yeah, Ron, NU6F, Lemon Valley, always wanting to be Golden Valley, but Mike's got that distinction. And it's the BC375 with the new rebuilt dynamotor that, I think I still need to make a soundproof container for it. But voltage is real steady, and the CW note sounds really, really good. I'm almost willing to try 40 meters. But I don't know what happened with the BC348. I'm picking up all kinds of grunge from the switching supply, and yet I'm switching over to the, on the ICOM receiver, I'm manually switching back and forth, and I don't hear it there, so I'll look for some loose coax or something somewhere. But through the amp, running 150 watts on the long wire. So with that, take it away, Chuck. K0DWC, TCS powered NU6F.
Okay. All right, Ron. That thing's sounding good again, and I can hear the dynamotor, and it does sound significantly stronger. But it's a good sound. A real good sound. So thanks for the email with the photographs. I really enjoyed those two shots. I love the way you had the power supply set up. It's a good deal all the way around, and glad you got that second dynamotor just purring away. So congratulations on that. I do want to say good morning to everybody. Good morning, Henry. And you on as well, to Dave, Mike, Vern, Tom, and to Bill. I've heard everybody, no problem so far. Bill sounded, I don't know, to me Bill sounded unusually clear, that one transmission for whatever reason. But, you know, I don't have near the trained ear as a lot of you guys do, so I might be full of it, which I probably am, but he sounded good. So anyway, we're on the TCS-13 this morning, running about, I don't know, 120 watts or so. Everything through the remote, and the setup is the TCS-13, and the serial numbers on these two, the transmitter and the receiver, are reasonably close. There's only like 98 numbers between the two of them as far as serial numbers go. So anyway, that's what we're on here, and we're running through an inverted V, and I guess I'm getting ready to send it over to Dave. Dave, how's things over in the Livermore? W6MQI, K0DWC.
All right, K0DWC, W6MQI. Well, a little nipply out here. 38 degrees. Of course, it's not 16 degrees, but had some frost the last couple days, so we're starting to get down in the 30s here. It's 54 on the shack. And good morning to everybody. Henry, Ron, Chuck, Mike, Vern, Tom, and Bill. Henry's ART's sounding really good here, and Ron's 375. I hear a real low-level hum on your signal, but not objectionable. Try and get that out this morning. Chuck, TCS sounding good, and I'm on my ART-13 with the 7584 receiver, and I was going to use the TCK this morning, but yesterday fired it up, and I've been noticing this for a while. The PA plate current meter has decided to stop working. Well, it works if you hit it. It bounces up, and then during transmit, you can knock the thing and it'll come up and show me plate current, but as soon as I let up on the key, it slams back down past the 0 mark and won't come back up again unless I hit it. Not sure what's going on, and the little adjusting screw to adjust the needle to 0 only partially works. I can't quite get it to 0, so something's happened with that meter. I'm not quite sure. I was looking on eBay, seeing if I could find another meter. They have some that are close. The one that's on the TCK goes to 750 milliamps, and the one I found was 600. So I'd have to mess with the shunts a little bit, and also swap out the plate inside. So anyway, I got to take the thing apart, and I noticed there's a capacitor going across the terminals. I don't know if that has something to do with the problem, but anyway, my first issue with the TCK. It's been flawless ever since. But anyway, that's all that's going on here. So up to Michael, W7MS, W6MQI.
Okay, well, thanks, Dave. W6MQI and the Nevada Military Net AM style W7MS, Mike and Reno. Good morning to all on frequency. Everybody's sounding great. And Ron is wearing his hearing protection this morning. Certainly understand that. And I guess sometime here in the near future we'll have to have a 191 375 shootout when Chuck and Carla and Henry decide on maybe some theme Sunday events here. But this morning running the 1942 Zenith contract ART-13, listening onto my semi-ignored. It was a little irritated with me this morning. I had to do some jiggle fixing with the Collins R391 receiver, which of course is the auto-tune version of the R390 non-A, purchased at the great famous Alamo swap meet, not a sweet meet, swap meet. I was thinking at least 25 years ago, because I think the twins were still in a stroller at that time. with the former wife pushing him around the swap meet, keeping an eye on Daddy to make sure he didn't buy stuff. Well, guess what? Didn't happen. The R391 followed me home. But yeah, great. Low of 17. Sometime in the hours of darkness. Currently 27 degrees. 1 or 2 inches of snow. Thursday. Was that Friday? Yeah, it was only wind day on Wednesday and Thursday, and then snow day Friday. And latest breaking news: my A3S with the 40-meter add-on kit bit the dust Thursday. Not specifically because of the extreme winds, which were hitting around 50 miles an hour, but over time, metal fatigue on the boom and torsional twisting, probably exacerbated. How's that a word? Exacerbated by the 40-meter add-on kit. So the boom parted ways. So the director and driven element were planted in the lawn in the backyard. So c'est la vie, 10 meters. That's the only disappointment on that. The antenna was certainly getting a little decrepit and intermittent in certain areas, but that was the end of that's the end of the A3S with the 40-meter add-on kit. But for $100, and saw service at 2 different residences over a period of almost 20 years, no complaints, and fully anticipated with the winds we have on the east slope of the Sierras, it was someday it would fail, and it certainly did. And interesting noise as it came down and planted itself in the lawn. But over to Vern, K6 VXY W7MS.
Okay, excuse me. Thank you, Mike. It's Vern. Got up at 6:48, so I just barely made it here. I was running low power. I hadn't tuned up anything. Although I was messing around with the radio this week quite a bit. It's K6 VXY, Pine Mountain Lake, Groveland, California. And the weather here has been cold this week. We've had a little bit of rain. We had 1.3 inches. We had a rainfall of 0.6 inches on Monday. And then the Friday, Saturday rainfall was another 0.6 inches. So got wet here and slowed up my construction work on the antenna partially. But right now I'm building a balun for the new antenna, which has been slowed, like I said, because of the rain. It'll probably be up in a few days. And I wound up using 1.5 inch PVC pipe for the main body, about 4 inches long. And then it has, of course, end caps that I started to put together on there and drilled and put a little screw into between the end cap and the main body to hold it together, and then I can disassemble it. This will be a simple balun. It's not a balun, it's just a center insulator. And I have the balun parts ready to go, but I'm doing it just the straight wires to start with. And I had some good luck there getting up in another tree, and it's going to be a doozy. I think it's going to favor, it's about a 30-degree swing from the other antenna, the one I'm using right now. But the balun has been kind of fun. I had the biggest drill I got here was a 1/2 inch drill, so I had to get a drill into this PVC end cap, and a nice perfect hole at the 1/2 inch. But when I went to 5/8, it was a choice between a $30 drill and a $5 drill, and I took this one, the one which is really designed for wood, and you have a small pilot hole. And then you can go with the, like a blade, it's just a blade type thing. And so you have to hold it steady. I had the thing in the vise and I got a hole through it. It's got some irregularities in it, but the coax thing fits good. I'm going to mount that and hook the wires to it. then I'm gonna be all set to. I gotta put the antenna together. I'm not sure which one I'll use first, but I got the parts for a 80 meter antenna, and then I got a 40 and 80 I used to use. I gotta give that a try. And for you guys, I think this one will favor direction about 30, 40, maybe 50 miles south of Reno and Carson City. Well, Carson City south. And but I think it might help the signal from Bob up there up north. I haven't heard him lately. Maybe the conditions are, if the sun has got to come up later, and it will, for that to be valid. But anyhow, it's been fun. Just work at the workbench. Got a heater going out there. We don't get 16 degrees or 25 or whatever. But it is cold out there in the garage. It's in the low 40s. People are laughing. Oh, that feels like summer up there. Okay, but it's nice to hear you all, and I made it. And gee, 3 weeks in a row with the daylight savings time. It's the spring I have the problem, but I was up at borderline. I got my coffee just in time too. So with that, good morning to everybody, and over to Tom over in Richmond. I think his call has changed. I think he's, let me check here. Tom. I wrote it down from last week. I think it's something Tom. He changed his call or something. It's K6 VXY with the vintage radio net. Oh, running my heat kit. SB200 is making the fan's making the noise again, telling me it needs to be replaced. And the IC 7200 and nice mic here. And with that, I'll turn it over to. I'll just say to Tom for now. It's K6 VXY.
Okay, Vern. K6 VXY WA7YBS. Beautiful Richmond, where it's 42 degrees. Let's see here. Very good, excellent conditions this morning. Very good signals, and of course the main thing is Ron, NU6F, the BC 375 report. Sounds good, very good. And that characteristic hum that was commented about, that's really not a hum, power supply hum. That's a characteristic that you hear on almost all BC 375s and BC 191s if they're stock. And you hear that if they're on an RA34 AC power supply or a dynamotor or whatever else. You hear that usually. And it kind of comes and goes and drifts around a little bit. It's some kind of an oscillation. And they all do that. But it kind of sounds like a hum. But if you listen long enough, you'll hear it change. Sometimes it'll kind of change pitch or frequency or whatever, but it's almost always there. And it comes and goes. Sometimes you can hear a little bit of FM creep in and then creep back out again. Anyway, it's a strange thing, but that 375 sounds very good, Ron. Plenty of modulation, easy to listen to, easy, it's working fine. Although I do have a request. I'd love to hear it on CW. And if you could, I don't know if you got a key plugged in or if you can plug a key in. And I gathered you're running an amplifier after it too. You must be if you're running 150 watts, because 375 is about 50 watts, which would probably be enough based on signals today. Barefoot, I think, would work fine. So anyway, that's my request. So let's see here. It goes to N6BCT and then whatever. And I'm going to make this a one and done, but I'll listen for a while. And hopefully I'll get to hear a BC 375 on CW. And if Ron says it sounds pretty good, yeah, that's pretty good. So anyway, here comes Bill, N6BCT, WA60PE.
Bravo, 25 watts on
it's a 100 watt container program, but sometimes I like them so out of it. Single program with a drawing room fitted with this radio. It's one of those things just out there. And I don't have an AM saver on the phone because I didn't realize that I really needed it when I first got the phone. And when I went back to the new radio board, and once in a while, I'm using the wide open I just left the flag, I was just on my phone, there was, on the telephone at about 2 o'clock this afternoon. So, anybody wants to join us at that, maybe we can get some more calls in there. I don't know how that works. But anyway, there you go. It's about the cat. Everything has worked.
Okay, Bill, N6BCT, WA7YBS. Very good on all, and good copy on everybody. 73 to Tom, WA60PE, and you had a good signal in here. Flight conditions are better down there than usual. They seem to be pretty good here also. And I did a little test there on Ron. Everybody that's using a BC375 always is subject to this test on the receiving end, and that's turn the BFO on and see how much it changes with any FMing. And yours is, Ron, is very stable. Only extreme voice peaks caused an excursion, so that new dynamotor and the stability and the high RPMs, that gives you the inertia that you need of the rotating armature for stability, and it really helps, and so yeah, that was let's see, Chuck on the TCS 13 and amp, and Dave on the ART 13, and Mike with the Yagi antenna that hit the dirt. Oh well, yeah, I had that happen. I had a classic 33 mostly antenna, and this was when I lived in Gardnerville, and during the snowstorm and windstorm and all of that sort of stuff. This was like 1974, something like that, 75. Anyway, the tower broke, and the antenna came down. It didn't damage the antenna at all, kind of messed up the tower a little bit, and I ended up selling that classic 33 to W7IND. I know Mike knows him. Oh, Bob, W7IND. So anyway, that was my story of that kind of failure in the wind. We had a power outage here in the wind, on Wednesday, and it started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it went to like 1:15 in the morning. Apparently, there was some sort of failure. Only affected 123 people, and I think all of them were on River Road. So anyway, that was, and then we had another one yesterday, planned outage. I think all they did was just test what repairs they had done on Wednesday night, and because the power outage yesterday was only for about 25 minutes. So I think they just were testing their repair work, which I guess was fine. So anyway, let's see what else. Vern's working on a PVC balun, and so that's that. Let's see if there's anybody else out there that wants to get in here. Just ahead of the second go-round, you can get in on the last end of the first round, be number 8. If you want to check in to the Vintage Military Radio Net, do it now. Okay, nothing heard. And so let's see. Nothing going on here exciting. SP600, the Hammerlin, well, they kind of call them Super Pros, but they more often refer to them as SP600s. The other one I have a couple, 2 or 3 of them, is a 25 cycle version, the 25C, SP600 J25. It isn't a J, it's SP600-25C, no J, and none of that external crystal oscillator crap up in the upper right-hand corner, just a blank panel there. And so anyway, it's got a 25 cycle power transformer. Great big old thing. It was so big it overhangs the chassis in the back by about 1 inch. And so they had to put, Hammerlin had to put this sort of extrusion there, a 90-degree extrusion to help support the transformer since it overhangs the chassis so much. And then that particular side, right side pylon, they had to slice that and cut it out of the way to fit this power transformer in. So that's the uniqueness of the Dash 25C. So anyway, it had sat in the shop, in the garage in the shop, all wrapped up for the last 12 years. And you thought it would have worked, you know, but it didn't. It had a lot of problems after storing it that long. So anyway, it's better now, working fine. But it's kind of funny, you know, they sit out there, and you had rebuilt them. I rebuilt that one in 2009 or so. And you would have thought that it would have held up in that area nice, you know, but it didn't. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started on round 2, and we'll go up to Ron in U6F WA7YBS.
Okay, see if I got it. Okay, good deal, guys. Well, solid copy on the other receiver. I'm not sure why the BC348 is picking up really bad hash from one of my power supplies, whereas the ICOM I'm on right now, why, no, I don't hear it. So, anyhow, well, good deal. And Mike, too bad about the wind. Yeah, I got a call from Becky, my niece, that they lost one section of fence, and then actually went over the next day, and yeah, deconstructed and reconstructed that fence, but it's good. Neighbor down the road, holy cow, they lost all their back fence. They got that iron, or all the properties that face, or the older properties that face the storm drain canals, they've got a metal fence they put up, big open sections, and I guess they wanted some privacy, so they attached wooden fence panels to that. Holy cow. Well, that was one big sale. The wind, that wind came up, ripped out all 60 feet of fence, all laying back down. But, yeah, nothing here. I kept looking at the wire, but yeah, like you say, Mike, you got plenty of miles and plenty of QSOs out of that beam, and it's not as bad as Henry. Holy cow, losing a tower, that's always a nightmare. You're thinking, gee, which way is it going to go? Am I going to call the insurance company about crashing into the neighbor's kitchen or what? And okay, Tom, let me see. Give me a second here. I will unplug the mic. I will switch over to CW. So hold on a second, guys. turn back over to the other mode. Actually, you got to tweak around to get the best note. I've got really light loading on this. Actually, the CW, because I'm just putting out about 10 watts to drive the amp. But actually, I noticed the note was better when I was up over 75, 80 watts. Don't ask me, other than maybe it sags the voltage just enough between keystrokes, like you're saying, Henry. The inertia kind of hangs in there, so I think it loads generator, keeps it more stable. But all in all, yeah, with the transmitter, I'm tickled pink, just with carbon mic and really not much in the way of repairs. All right, with that, go ahead and take it away, Chuck. K0DWC NU6F.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay, all right, well, that was interesting, Ron. Good deal. All right, well, let's see. So far, everybody's still coming in, no problem. Bill especially. I mean, he sounds pretty good this morning. I think I agree with Tom. The conditions, I guess between the Bay Area and here seem like they're pretty doggone good. But anyway, 7-3's to you, Tom, and I hope to hear you next week. And let's see. This may or may not be my last transmission this morning. I had a phone appointment at 8 o'clock. It's time sensitive, and I got to answer the phone. So I don't know when I get around to the third round or not. But if I don't, I'll say my 7-3s now. But I could be back by then. It just depends on the time frame. So anyway, we'll keep it going, and we'll send it over to Dave, W6MQI, K0DWC.
K0DWC, W6MQI. All right, Chuck, just in case, I'll say 7-3 to you. And have a good week. Well, Ron, I should have recorded it. That was pretty neat. It reminded me of the 1970s Russian CW operators used to hear. Had a neat, interesting note to it. Sounded pretty cool. I'm sure today's CW operators with their state rigs would probably complain about it, but it sounded neat to me anyway. Where are we at here? Yeah, well, Mike, that's a bummer. Yeah, I recently took down my Tenadyne T8 log periodic. Thing was a monster. I was glad to get that thing down. I was waiting for something to come off of that one as well, come down and skewer my roof or something. So I was glad to get that down. Next, I got to get the tower down. I'm going to wait another year or so to take that down. And start taking things down around here and maybe start selling stuff off so I don't have to move it, take it with me when I get the hay out of here after retirement. So that's another project that's going to be coming down the line. And thanks, Tom, for the explanation on the hum. Yeah, it's not objectionable or anything. Just I heard it in there. It was kind of coming and going on that BC375. I don't think I've ever heard one before. So that was pretty cool. Not much else going on here. Like I mentioned, the TCK. I'm going to do a repair on the PA plate meter, and I've been working on some stuff for my TRC 77 rig. Some stuff there, 3D print new case that partially matched the TRC 77 case. Printed, boy, those were a hassle. knobs that match the knobs on a TR-77. I 3D printed some of those. Got a guy on eBay that had some for sale, but geez, just exorbitant prices. I was going to try and make one myself, and I was able to do it. So I was happy to get that going. Other than that, not much else going here. Got all my yard work done around here, so I can just relax today. But that's about all I got going here, which ain't much. So over to Mike, W7MS, W6MQI.
Well, okay, Dave. W6MQI, W7MS. Well, excellent reception from all. 73s to Tom as he's listening. And before I forget, thanks for the demonstration on the CW, Ron. Sounds great. Has some distinctive characteristics, which of course will elicit comments from some of the usual experts on 75 CW that we've talked about in the past. And I wonder if you've enabled the full break-in modification for the 375 just in case, so you'll have a response for that one gentleman to avoid the lecture. But we'll see. But chances are you may develop possibly some issues within the studio there and have to leave the air. But other than that, Dave, you're quite busy between printing knobs and figuring out a resolution for your meter issue on the TCK. So plenty busy, and of course, yeah, you did mention on the log periodic disassembly and taking that down, and I guess the tower, you have to be in the right place and have the right volunteer to help one out. But of course, all I've got is one reflector kind of hanging off the tower right now, so that would just be a probably a 7/16 inch box wrench and sail it off the tower. But minor issue, but this isn't the time of year. That's the one unfortunate aspect. It's just not a even if it's a relatively safe climb, no ice, no wind, but it's just cold outside. You know, it's just you want to enjoy the moment, not turn it into a work experience without a paycheck. But let me see here. Find Henry on the SP600. I remember when you picked that up. I think you got that over at the Salvation Army swap as one of your nabs. I remember that discussion from the Wayback Machine when you first picked it up and you did the restoration. And now you've got a second chance for restoration, which is interesting, just having the thing sit, but not unusual, which brings to mind my project, and that was the discovery of, again, open wire-wound power resistors, which I run into on occasion, which are functionally, physically appear okay, but are probably victims of a poor wash from the acid flux when they created the power resistor. And I've noticed that I had two here on my ATR-11A project. Fortunately had replacements in the junk box, but it's always an interesting phenomenon that, darn it, you should have done a complete wash on that acid flux solder to get that nichrome to bond to the lug. But that's another interesting phenomenon about how things can just go south by sitting around. So, well, I don't want to get into the ATR-11A, but it's progressing quite well on the reverse engineering aspect. It's an RCAF transmitter receiver, and it's auto-tuned. 5 channels. They have not inflicted any patent issues with Collins, but it's an interesting, it's truly auto-tuned. But let me see. Hopefully Chuck will complete his phone call and be back. And let me see. Only comment on weather is this is the first onset of real winter, and that's cold soak. High 30s yesterday for the high. cold lows, which means the house really doesn't totally warm up, and Studio B here is probably about 60 degrees, so it's we're officially wintertime, at least for me, even though it's still fall. And when we enter the storm, and then the high pressure center and cold temperatures, and it never warms up. But things will improve, I think, through tomorrow and the first part of this coming week. So over to Vern, and Vern, great to hear you. And you're busy with antennas, and the life is good. K6VXY, W7MS.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Yeah, that's, I think I mentioned it last week. It's always been a favorite. And someone mentioned a T833. That was my venture into 10 meters. I was working at a company called Signetics, which is now, I guess, Philips officially, and in Sunnyvale. And a guy had an old antenna, had it strapped to his fence, and he says, I got this ham radio antenna, and since you're a ham, you might be interested. I don't know what I paid for it. It wasn't much, but I worked on it, and it was the first time I got on 10 meters. I was on that a long time. Got into 1010 of all things, and then I had, I never used it much on 20. I talked to my cousin Bill in North Dakota some with it, and 15 some, but yeah, 10 meters, had 3 elements on 10 meters, and I was running, what was I using? Sideband. Oh, that was my HW100, the Heathkit. Guy came, I talked to yesterday, I was getting parts. He said his dad was a ham at the hardware store, this guy said, and he says, you ever build any Heathkits? And I laughed, I said, yeah, about 20 of them. All the way from audio stuff to mostly ham stuff. The last one was the television set, GRC 25, I think it was called. Big 25-inch TV. Now we're at 65, and that's pretty standard. 55, I guess, has been the most popular. It seems to fit everywhere. But I had a hard time getting used to TV like that, so big, because the newscasts, especially, the people were so big, you know. Even with the smaller sets, I think it was a 36 I got. It was a purchase set. It was too big, so I traded it in. Got it from the guy directly, and I traded it back in for a 32, so people became more realistic. But, you know, we all get used to certain things, so it's what happens. But, yeah, the work on the Ballin's been fun. And there was a young kid in the store, in the hardware store down the street. It's called PML Hardware. It's in Big Oak Flats, and I'm sure Mike knows where that is. And anyhow, I says, you got to be really careful when you're drilling holes like this. You put it in a clamp. You don't want to hold on to it. And I got a nice vise, 5-inch vise or whatever. But when I hit that thing with the bladed thing, I had let's see, how big was the hole? It was a 1/2 inch, making it 5/8. The drill wanted to have a life of its own, and it was jumping around, but I got it through. It was a little bit, some ragged spots, but I didn't think of it, but I'm going to call them today, see if they have hand reamers. I have a hand reamer that goes up to 1/2 inch, and I know they make them bigger, as long as they're not a fortune, you know, like 40, 50 bucks or some ridiculous price. It'd be nice to have something like that. That'd be a nice way to do it. The best way, of course, would be to use a drill, but the thing is, I got a variable speed drill, but you're talking about enlarging a hole with the regular drill. Those bits get a, people probably laughing out there. You get anyone hearing this? They got a mind of their own, and hand reamer would probably be the safe way to do it, even with a vise. You know, have to look into that. Anyhow, let's say 73 to Tom, if you're still listening, and I'm going to turn over to Bill, N6BCT, and Mike, I'll have one thing real quick. Boy, it sounds like in the winter months there, where you're at, it gets down into the 0 degree type stuff or whatever. but I liked it there in the summer a lot, and I still like that area. Okay, hopefully I can get there this summer. I got no excuse this time. My leg is getting really, really good. The knee surgery, I saw the doctor, last week. He says, yeah, you're done for 6 months, but we like to check you. Just don't get too aggressive. You're not going to be running for a while, but just walk and walk and walk. That's the best thing you can do. Okay, over to Bill, N6BCT, and the signals are real strong. I heard Ron the best. It was about 20 over. Everyone else was bumping up about 10 over. N6BCT in the group K6BXY.
I hope you, I put what the regulars in to go in there. Well, I hope to put this computer that I'm using to get it to run on Wi-Fi. And so when I get Wi-Fi, I have to cut it down to be able to do the other net that I get actually, the very first step was 29 with 7 a.m. on single background. And it starts now to I could hear him on my right here in the basement, which is normally I couldn't hear him at all, but I could hear him, but it was kind of coming, but it was getting bad. So I moved up to put a bottle in front of him for relax, which is, I went from the corner, was one of the things down the road, but anyway, so that's good. So it's,
Okay, Bill. N6BCT WA7YBS. All right. Well, good copy on everybody. Bill's a little bit of a challenge, but turn on the BFO and zero beat the signal, and there you are. Coming quite well. Yeah, you're right, Mike. I picked that SP600-25C up at the secret swap meet. And that was when we used to have those things in October. In fact, that might have been even in November. I don't remember for sure, but it was at least mid-October. That's when we had the swap meets, those secret swap meets, pretty late in the year. And yeah, it was $50, $50 for that SP600. Because, of course, it didn't work or anything like that, but that front panel and the dials were just perfect on that thing. So that's why I got it. Yeah, it had a lot of burned up resistors in it, and of course it had all those plastic encapsulated capacitors in it that destroy the resistors with all the leakage current. So anyway, it required a rebuild back then, and this was just from setting. 12 years in the garage. Well, that's not going to help anything. But anyway, yeah, you're right. Salvation Army secret swap meet, 2009. And let's see, CW on the BC375, that sounded typical of how they sound, a little bloopy, but, they do that, and as you say, as you load them up, they do better. I actually ran mine on 630 meters. I have the CS26, I believe it is, tuning unit for going down into medium wave and stuff. And so I did a test on CW, BC375, 630 meters. I was using a 200 and something foot end-fed wire antenna. And Tom, WA7YBS, actually heard me using the SDR receiver, and I think Andy heard me, KD6TKX. So the thing that was interesting on CW on 630 meters is that it's very stable. It just, no blooping at all. But then I load them up pretty hard. I load them up to 75 watts. The 375 that I have. Anyway, I do have another BC375, and that one I got for $10 from our friends in Sparks after the tubes were pulled out of it. When you take the tubes out of a BC375, they lose value quickly. So anyway, well, what can you expect with 4 211Es and a VT25, which is also a 10. So yeah, pretty valuable tubes. And so anyway, let's go ahead and I'd ask for check-ins if there's, or not check-ins, but if there's anybody that does want to check in, let's see if there is, just out of curiosity, if anybody wants to check in. Vintage Military Radio Net here. Number 8 is open. Go ahead now. Okay, that wasn't unexpected. Let's do the 73 round. Up to Ron, NU6F WA7YBS.
Okay, good deal. Well, yeah, still great copy on everybody, and so no complaints. Conditions are pretty darn good. And yeah, Henry, that's what this one was running all the time, was down on 630 meters. Tom, the fellow that handled the estate, said that Tim, the guy that Silent Key that owned this rig, that's what he did. Mostly 630 meter CW, so I've got the plug-in for that. I didn't have a 40 meter plug-in, so I ended up having to go ahead and bought one on ePay, and I'm going to do some experimenting on that one though. I got the brilliant idea of pulling off the frequency chart on the front, taking the thumb screws out, and I could put a switch, push button spring-loaded switch. When you put the nameplate on, everything is normal. Take the nameplate off, the switch opens up the tap on the Hartley oscillator to the grid, and which would allow me access to oh, we got somebody else in there? No, I don't know. Anyhow, is that me? Let me see. No, I guess it's somebody else on there. Anyhow, oh, there we go. We just dropped out. All right, guys. 73 is good hearing you all in there. And Henry, a 25 cycle. Holy cow. 25 cycles per second. Who uses that low frequency for power? I mean, it's 50 over in Europe, but yeah, that's darn near DC. No wonder they had to use so much, so much iron for that transformer. And Mike, yes, it's full break-in, so that much does work. So if I ever catch Don W6JL on 80 meters, I can say, well, ignore the chirp, but at least I'm break-in. So there you go. And yeah, like I said, that's a cool-looking radio. I don't know how long you had that RCAF radio, but that's pretty cool-looking. And I'm not sure exactly what vintage. You may have told me if it's 1950s vintage or what. But all right, guys, good hearing everybody in there. I guess I will bundle up and head off to church in a little bit. 73 guys, and take it away, Mike. W7, let's see, take away Mike. Don't forget that. I got, it's back to Chuck. If Chuck is still there, go ahead and take it. If not, goes to Dave. And glad you got that log periodic down. Yeah, that would have been a real disaster. Go ahead, Chuck and or Dave, NU6F.
Okay, I'm back for just a few minutes. Schedule DWC here. Alrighty. Yeah, I got the call, and I got a call back at 8:15, so that's the story there. So anyway, okay, I'll say my 7-3s to everybody. Good night this morning, fellas. Everybody sounded really good. And Henry, I'll give you a buzz later this afternoon. So with that, I'll say 7-3s to everybody. And we'll talk to you next week. I'll be Net Control next week. So I will send it over to Dave, W6MQI, in the group K0 DWC. Take it away, Dave.
Okay, Dave, W6MQI, W7MS, 100% reception on the PRC 515, so nice to hear that. Hello, yeah, okay, so it's, it's doing well. So tip of the hat to you for taking advantage of propagation this morning. But let me see here, yeah, W7MS in Reno, just in case. Yeah, to continue on with the slight discussion on the ATR-11A. That's late World War II RCA Victor Company Limited product transmitter receiver. It was obtained from Henry knows the husband and wife team up in Sandpoint, Idaho. That's where that came from not that too long ago. It only took a month for him to get it shipped, but apparently that was they were experiencing some personal issues there in Sandpoint. But neat 5-channel auto-tuned, uses circular discs with a detent, which activates a roller setup on some leaf switches for positioning location. So it is auto-tuned, single 1625 modulated. At least it's plate modulated with a pair of 1625, so kind of the standard setup. Has a few weird things. I'll comment, put everybody to sleep, but I've never seen a Heptode 12SA7 converter tube in an audio section, and what they're doing is they're mixing the receive audio from the detector into that mixer, and they're using a single 12A6 for driving the mods, the modulators, also audio output and receive and side tone amplifiers. So looks like a lot of work to go single tube, use a single tube, single 12A6. But also maybe Henry might want to comment on this. In this device, and I'll rattle on here briefly, but I've never seen mechanical temperature compensating capacitors, and they use a bimetal strip with a U channel that forms what we know as the rotor, the movable contact, which sits in also within another U channel. And then the leverage on the bimetal strip can be changed with the set screw, so you can change compensation, hence capacity over temperature. And I'd never seen that, because when I first looked at it, I go, this looks like a thermal cutout switch. And in fact it is. It's a bimetallic strip but it's been modified to be a mechanical temperature compensating capacitor, and that's used in the receiver and also the transmit VFO. So it's kind of a go figure, but maybe Henry's seen that. I never have. But with that 7.3s from Reno and over to Vern in beautiful Pine Mountain Lake. And yes, I do remember that hardware store when there's only one in town. It's a direct shot, and Home Depot's some distance away. K6VXY W7MS.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Yeah, there used to be across the street there was a Subway sandwich when we first moved here, and then that changed, and the post office is right there for Big Oak Flat. Yeah. And they've expanded quite a bit. They've got a bunch of stone pieces they're selling out there, I guess for people making patios or whatever they're doing. And another building there that they have a lot of lumber and different things in. And boy, if you need nuts and bolts and all the screws and different things, well, that's the place to go. It's the only place to carry it. You know, if you don't mind paying 20 cents for a nut or a bolt or a screw, that's, you know, you only have to do it once or twice. But, so, yeah, it's really nice. They get a kick out of me. I did the joke yesterday at the store. I says, you know, you mentioned that I'm very cheap isn't the word they use. You don't like to spend very much money. I says, well, you know, the penny was invented by a couple radio hams who were fighting over a piece of copper, so they got a kick out of that. Anyhow, with that, 73s to all, and let's see, I'm going to be turning it over to Bill. N6 BCT, loud and clear today, Bill. He's coming in fine from Half Moon Bay, and I'm going to continue my work with the antenna. Maybe I can try something a little different next week. It's not supposed to rain this time, so I should be able to go out there and have a ball. 73's all, and a good net there, Henry. Nice to hear you again, and good that you're healthy. This is K6BXY 73's to all, and off to N6 BCT.
Well, I don't hear a carrier anymore, so I guess Bill signed. Okay, let's see. Okay, the mechanical temperature compensation, when you were describing that, Mike, there sounded just like the one that National used in the NC-183. Not the NC-183D, but the NC-183. And it's a little bimetallic gizmo there, and yeah, you got like a little set screw to adjust I can't remember what the clearance was, 20 thousandths or something like that. And of course, as the temperature changes, it's connected in there into the oscillator section of the tuning condenser, and it's supposed to compensate for, thermal drift, I guess. But anyway, yeah, I have seen a mechanical temperature compensator, and that was where it was in the NC183. Okay, very good, Net, and thanks everybody for checking in to the I wanted to comment there on the 630 meters for the BC375. Yeah, that's a good tuning unit to have there on the 26, I think it is, CS26. Anyway, or CU26. Anyway, is a good one to have. I think it's kind of fun to get on with that transmitter on 630 meters, and it loads up about anything. I just stuck a 200-foot wire out there, and it loaded it up just fine. Of course, I did have that 306A long-wave antenna tuner that goes with it. So, anyway, enough of that. We'll say 73 to everybody. Everybody have a good week coming up. Chuck will be Net Control next week. Thanks, everybody, for your participation. And this is WA7YBS, and I'll be closing the net and signing off. 73 all.